Hello, welcome to the Village of Buchanan May 2020 workshop
This meeting is being recorded.
Yesterday was Memorial Day, so after the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to have a moment of silence for those men and women who gave all for our country and for our freedoms. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I also want to mention we had a very nice memorial ceremony yesterday at the in front of the pavilion, and I want to thank John Dunnew from the Peekskill American Legion and Sean Murray from the Verplank American Legion. It was a beautiful ceremony, so I thank you for that. Okay, Marcus, what is on our agenda this evening?
All right, so what we could do is, Mayor, would you like to start with the possibility of adding some parking on Blakely Avenue, or do you want to start with the parking situation with the DOT on Route 9A?
Let's start with the DOT situation. George is on with us now. He can do some updates of where we are and how that's looking.
All right, good. And also Eric is part of this.
George is our engineer.
Yep, George Palmer, our engineer. Also, Eric Johansson, our police chief, is online, so we can talk about the situation now at Route 9A. The DOT just finished installing a new sidewalk. The sidewalk is recessed, and the reason for that is because of a drainage line that's in the middle of the right-of-way of the DOT. So the DOT has to lower the sidewalk to let the water to drain. Now we have a situation where we have a sidewalk where cars are driving over to get into their residences. The DOT called me up when they finished putting the sidewalk and says that we actually installed the sidewalk. It's up to the village to enforce it and decide what they want to do with the people driving over the sidewalk to park within their right-of-way as well. So the issue is we want to continue allowing the individuals to drive over the sidewalk to park where they're parking now, and I send everybody a picture in their package. If you don't have it, I can actually put it on the screen and share it with you if you like. So one issue is that of the cars parking going over the sidewalk, which is also a pedestrian right-of-way issue. And the other issue is the no parking signs. If everybody remembers a long time ago when the DOT was talking about repaving, we were talking about no parking on that side of the road where Rolando's business is and two homes. The DOT now wants to know, because they actually have plans, that now they'll put the sidewalk in, that probably two cars can fit and park parallel, and they can stripe it to allow cars to park there. If the village does not want to allow parking on that side of the road, they will not paint the signs, and they'll put in no parking signs. But they thought there was an opportunity now to allow parking in the new sidewalk and in the sidewalk in front of Orlando's, and then put no parking as you come further down to where the gas station is. So we have to make two decisions. One is the parking and no parking going over the sidewalk, and then parking and no parking on the roadway, and with the changes of the sidewalks put in. And if you want, I can put it on the screen if you want to see the different options.
Yeah, if you could bring it up on the screen, Chief. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, and George.
I have thoughts, many thoughts. May I speak?
Sure.
Okay, so this is Nick Zachary for the record. I've been involved with this since the first conception of the plan, going back over a year. Initially, before there was a plan to repave the road.
Oh.
So I have your stuff on the screen now, Marcus, but everyone still hears me?
Sorry, the screen's so slow. Okay, this was the original concept. And with this car's parked here, as you can see it with my arrow, now there's a sidewalk here. And there was going to be a pedestrian walkway here. So they changed it now. Now the sidewalk comes across this way.
Has everybody seen that?
Yeah. Here, so this is a rendering of what the road looks right now. The gray area is the sidewalk, and they were able to put 32 feet of a space for a car to park if that's what the village board would like to happen, and they go to this area here, so there'll be no parking area, so that way, as the police chief knows, you need to have the clearance so people can see coming in and out. And then there's a driveway here, so there's a curb cut still here, where they go to the back of this property. So they're going to put the sidewalk is in. They're going to put over 32 feet of parking. I don't know if it fit 2 or 3 cars there. And then
2 cars.
2 cars. And then there's parking in front of Orlando that we can continue parking if that's what the village board would like, or we can eliminate all this parking and not have parking on that side. So that's the first question.
Okay. Nick Zachary, can I continue with
Yes.
okay. There's a bunch of stuff here. First of all, no place in the village is commercial parking allowed on the street overnight. And I don't think we should have different rules on 9A. When we initially started this plan, the idea was to apply to the state to take over the parking enforcement. Even if the state puts up signs, that doesn't mean that they will necessarily do any enforcing. So
That's correct.
Probably still have to submit our plan to take over leave that picture. So
Yep.
we probably have to submit our plan still, so the state releases us to do the enforcement on 9A between Blakely and Tate Avenue.
And Nick, they're ready. Nick, just to let you know, they're ready to do that. They're ready to put signs up to do that. They just want to.
Well, I'm going to tell
want
you.
the sign.
I'm going to go through what I feel about everything, and then anybody else that wants to can weigh in. My feeling is there should be no commercial parking on the west side or east side of this road from Blakely to from Blakely to Tate. There should be no parking at all on the west side of 9A, which is the side you're showing now, with the only caveat being that we might need to make some adjustment or find some way to help that residence that's over there that probably has a hardship for the parking. He's got parking in the back. I don't know how much he needs. The code usually requires 2 spots per unit, and I don't know how many he has. We have to study that. But here's the thing. Any place you put a sidewalk, if there's a curb cut, people are allowed to drive across it. That's a standard thing. Wherever you have a sidewalk, there are curb cuts. And so if there's room for a parked car on the person's property, they have a right to drive across that sidewalk like it's a driveway. If there's no room, then they don't have, if they're going to be sticking out onto the sidewalk the way that car is shown right now, then they should not be parking there. My feeling on the other side of 9A is there should be no overnight commercial parking. The big problem over here is largely the massive number of Rowlindo vehicles that have been all over the place. We also have on the east side of the road, we have the nursery school. There is a small section of property just north of the nursery school where there are stones placed currently, but there's room for cars to pull over. Rowlindo leaves his flatbeds there. I've seen him park cars over there for a month at a time that he's waiting to get to work on that are just sitting there, and that should not be allowed. That's, to me, those 2 spots there should have a sign that says for 15-minute parking for drop-off only, so that when people are coming to pick up their kids, they have a place over there dedicated to as long as we have a nursery school that's got a license there, we should give them those 2 spots for pickup and drop off of children, so they're not on the road dropping people off.
Hey, Nick.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, just a quick thing with that. Isn't that, maybe Eric knows this, but wouldn't that be only for school hours that you could do that, though? What's going to happen after that's removed, like after you pick up the child?
Well, first of all, that little piece of property there is part of the WIC property. It's actually a little piece of the WIC property. I don't think they could do anything there, but I'm okay on that side of the road, which is mostly residences.
Okay.
We looked at this, and most of the houses have ample parking. They can get off the road. A couple of them can pull behind their houses. So I'm okay with non-commercial parking on that side, other than that school hour drop off and pick up only. I'm feeling there should be some accommodation to that school. in the same way there should be some accommodation to the deli building with the apartments on Blakely and 9A that has the issue that's shown in this photo that's up on the screen right now.
Nick, I'd like, which
Yes, Rich.
parking now? I agree with you about the commercial parking. I think, as before, when you had outlined everything that you looked at, I was in full agreement with you. The only question I have here now is when you mentioned about the nursery, whatever that is, place.
Daycare.
Daycare. They have a large piece of property in the back that somebody can pull in and turn around.
Yeah, but they have their own vehicles, and when people are coming, they're just kind of pulling up for like 5 minutes.
Sure.
And they usually pull right in front of the school.
But yeah, my concern there is that's a very busy road to be doing that on with a child.
Well, that all the more reason that if there are spots where they could pull over, it's better than pulling right in front of the building, which they currently do.
So can we I got to get an answer to DOT regarding this situation. They asked me to text them tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. So if you're looking at the picture on the screen right now, you'll see a handicap drop curb at the corner, and then you'll see to change the elevation, you'll see like a handicap accessibility showing the drop in the corner. From that yellow spot that I have my mouse on to the other yellow spot, there is a curb cut to get behind this house, to get behind the property. From here to here, it's supposed to be a sidewalk, and DOT will talk about allowing parking here. These people here are actually jumping the curb to park when in front of this house, which is really this house. The only car that's parked in front of the old deli is this car in the corner. These other cars actually belong to this house here. So the question is, if we allow parking here, then these cars are actually jumping the sidewalk one way or the other, whatever the board wishes to have. So people can park here and not jump the curb. But if you allow no parking on this side of the street, then do you still want cars to jump over the curb? So we need to have two answers. One is, do you want no parking where this red truck is parked right now all the way down? Or do you want to allow parallel parking on the street, which a DOT can mark? And they were planning to do that tonight, but I told them to hold off.
Well, much you're talking again. I'm looking at this picture, Marcus, and that individual looks like he's backed in. And I'm concerned about that. That's an extremely busy road to be backing it. You know, you have to use up part of the road to back your vehicle in. Wouldn't it be safer to, like where the car is parked all the way over to the left on my screen, that if the person's parked there parallel to the sidewalk, instead of having to go over it, where obviously if you want to get back out, you probably do want to back in. I think that's going to hold up traffic, and it could be a real problem.
And let me just add another point. The DOT say we put a sidewalk in. If they're jumping over the sidewalk and the village doesn't enforce it, it's the village's responsibility to enforce. So if that car is backing in, somebody's walking along that sidewalk gets hit, I don't know our legal responsibility will allow people to jump over a sidewalk, which is not a real legal curb cut. The curb cut is really between Rolando's and this house here. They're actually jumping the sidewalk here. So if somebody's walking through, and like Richard is right, and the guy's backing out, somebody's coming on the sidewalk, now the guy's jumping the sidewalk.
Well, Nick Zachary again. There was an email about possibly creating more parking on Blakely. Is there some safe way to do that, so we can get them off of 9A? Because if they make parking spots there, one thing about the parking on 9A is, well, first of all, no commercial. Second of all, if you're parking there, there's not enough room to pull over so that when you open your door, it doesn't go into the lane of traffic. That's a busy road, and and people go a little faster than they do on our side streets. And people should not be parking such that when they open their door, it goes into the moving lane of traffic.
That's the picture. This is the picture now the DOT was thinking of doing tonight. So
yeah, I don't think we should be doing that.
Okay.
I think if we can if there's any alternative, creating some parking on Blakely or something, I think we have to look for an alternative. We want this to be safe, and we also are thinking in terms of the future placement of a sidewalk there as far as the rest of the stretch going up to Tate Avenue. I think there should be no parking, overnight parking on that whole side of 9A. and non-commercial on the other side, as long as there is room to get off the road.
So let me just get this straight. So I'll tell the DOT, and I want to hear from the rest of the board. You don't want them to do this, which is fine. Now, the next question is, do you want them to put no parking signs in the street all the way to the width of this roadway, all the way to the gas station?
That would be my preference.
Okay.
So be no parking at all on that side of the street. That's what I want to make sure.
Correct.
If we do that, first of all, you have to understand that these people have always had parking, that two-family house, that they're parked in front of.
That's the one right here. Yep.
We can't.
Well,
so we have to.
What can we do for them?
If you're going to eliminate that parking, then the village is going to have to make an alternative agreement or something. The owner of the property did call Marcus and mentioned something, possibly parking on Blakely Avenue. There's a few spots. We're not going back to that corner intersection again. That they were backing in there, they were driving in there forward, backing into Blakely Avenue, and trucks and cars are coming around the corner from 9A up to Blakely Avenue. That's a hazard. But
Okay.
there are a few spaces on Blakely Avenue that the village could potentially do some parking, more of a parallel parking. But the problem is, and also the owner of that building did mention something to the effect maybe to have some type of permit parking and charge for it. That was
Correct.
his
Correct.
Well, I think we should do one of those things for them. I think we should do something for them, but, and maybe, let them, just until we provide that, maybe we could let them park there. We're not building the rest of the sidewalk yet. Maybe we could temporarily say, as soon as we get you an alternative, you're not going to be able to park here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up Google Earth for a minute. You still can see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to bring up Google Earth real fast because that house does have a driveway. The problem is that I don't know if they're allowed to park in the back. So that's something.
You mean the driveway between that house and Raulindo?
That's correct.
It's not a full driveway, Marcus. Part of the house juts out, so
Yeah,
they
there's
can't
a
get to the
bay
back of the
window.
yard.
That's right. The bay window protrudes. You can't get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe-
and they put an air conditioning unit there too, if I remember correctly too.
So if it's so small that an air conditioner eliminates the ability to pull in with a car, then it's a done deal.
But is that the area you said where this is Teresa, is that the area where you said there's a curb cut?
That's the driveway. That's a curb cut there right now.
Would
Yeah.
you allow that one car to park in there? If there's a actual curb cut?
Can they clear the sidewalk? They should not be protruding out on the sidewalk.
No, they clear the sidewalk there. There's plenty of room to drive into there on the left side. So if you're looking at the building next to Orlando.
So tell them they can do that, and we would be looking for some better alternative on Blakely.
Good question.
Well, I was just going to say that, in other words, if that house is going to have two cars, why can't they pull one into the driveway and then one into the front of the house, using that, dip in the sidewalk?
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Eric? Chief? Is that you?
That area where it says 32 feet.
Yes.
The curb cut there, Marcus, did they lower the curb? I mean, I thought we spoke today and you said they actually cut the curb there, but it wasn't meant for a driveway, it was meant for some other purpose?
For drainage. So it's right about here. Let me go back to the other picture. I think might be better. Here, you see, there's a grate right here.
Yes.
So you see what I'm circling? That's a drain for the water from the street and from the driveway and the drain for all the buildings. So they didn't want to interfere with the water, so they dropped the sidewalk down so the water can drain.
From that drain towards Blakely, back towards Blakely, to that first yellow right there,
Yes,
curb cut to give the impression that it's a driveway?
it does. But according to DOT, that's not a drop curb. They did that just to take care of the water issue.
Okay.
So they are telling us officially there's a sidewalk and these cars are jumping the sidewalk.
So it look, that's the question that we have to struggle with. The impression is that it's a curb cut for a driveway, but we're going to tell them they can't use it for such. So you have to be prepared to combat that. I mean, that's
Well, if there's no parking signs, refer to the street side, and maybe we just we let them know that temporarily you could park there while we work out an alternative on Blakely. Do we know that? I mean, we have an alternative on Blakely. I'm not too familiar with it.
No, that's something we have to talk about.
Okay.
Hey, Chief, this is Dwayne Jackson. I have a question for you.
Sure.
What type of enforcement would we use over there in terms of making sure that people are adhering to what the parking regulations are?
Well, I think typically you'd have to create an ordinance that prohibits parking in that specific area. I mean, it's a no-brainer to have a no parking here to corner zone, just to allow for visibility. I mean, that's pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to create a no parking, between signs, or no parking, no stopping. I mean, there's a variety of ordinances that you could put into play there, but I think you'd have to enact one in order to conduct enforcement.
Because, as I look at the picture here, Marcus talks about that sidewalk was lowered because of the drainage, but then people who were there saying, well, hey, I'm going to back my car in or either pull it in forward because there's a driveway cut for me there. And it kind of gives the illusion that it's okay.
Sure.
And that's going to be a concern.
Especially if you've been doing it all along. So
Yeah. So if you see my updated, guys, if you see my updated picture here, can you see my screen?
No, it's just great.
Screen is blank. Okay, hold on.
And then there's
now I see everybody.
Okay.
and then there's also the car that's parallel.
There you go.
Deli, that's sitting parallel to that. That we've always discussed. That doesn't have a driveway ramp on it, and basically it's parked illegally. Am I wrong in assuming that?
Yeah. So if hopefully you're sharing my screen now, as you can see, this is the driveway that originally is there. There's a curb cut here. There's a drop sidewalk here, which they fixed the ADA compliance. Here's a drain that I've been talking about here.
Right.
And there was an island that was there. People used to park over this island. So the only curb cut that's according to the DOT, it's right here. But they dropped the sidewalk to make sure the water drains off the road to this drain.
It
That's
looks
what
like
the sidewalk
they
is.
fit in there. Excuse me, it's Nick again. It looks like they fit in there. There's a car pulled in there right picture.
You could put another car behind there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a small car up front, there could be two cars. But I don't think, Marcus, this is Teresa, I don't think legally the state could have stopped that driveway. They can't cut a driveway. So legally, I think that's still fine. And yes, the curb is dropped so that they can still in and out of their driveway. So technically, if they're small vehicles, that could be 2 spaces right there.
That's correct. So a car does fit through there. So going back to the question is, I mean, we can discuss this further, but at the same time, so at the same time, we just have to see if we're not. And then we can go to Blakely Avenue over here, where they're talking about maybe adding some spots over here.
No, definitely. No, not there. That's a hazard. That's very, 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 very dangerous because they're backing out. Cars are coming around that corner. Very dangerous. No.
Yep.
But where you see where that truck is, that's the entrance to our access into that property. There's like a driveway in there. But there's like 2 spaces we could probably do parallel to the road, and then there's a fire hydrant. I think actually there could be two spaces in that area.
What about the other side of Blakely, closer to their building?
Well, the one in the corner, this is his garage, and and his tenants are parking at the corner and parking all over here.
So can they use those 2 spots that I think were for the deli, like drop? Can they use those 2 spots on the street?
Who's parking? Let's go back here. Who's parking? As far as I know, who's parking in the who's parking here, who's parking, parallel parking, we go to that other picture, are the residents here.
Yeah. So let them use that driveway on the left side if they fit in there.
Well, I think they have like 4 or 5 cars. They have a lot of cars. If you go back to the picture I had originally, let me go back to my picture.
Marcus, the one SUV is to the building where the deli is. That's
Okay.
that's definitely, I know who that is. They live in that
There we
building.
go. So,
All right.
So-
May I make a point? If they use any portion of their property, like that driveway, to park, there should be no parking on 9A, or they will not be able to see when they're pulling out. It'll obstruct their view. So that's another reason not to add those spots on the street that the DOT was considering marking out. Then anybody using that driveway is going to be blinded when they're pulling out.
True.
yes, that's correct. That's true. Well, if you go back to this picture, that's why they hatched off this area here. So
Don't see it.
The driveway's, oh, you can't see it. Hold on a second. Let me go back again. Let me share this. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So here's the driveway. Here's the hatched out area, and there's no parking here.
Oh.
So there's 15 foot, right, so people can see up to 15 feet, and then there's a 15 feet in the curve. So there is, according to DOT standards, that meets the DOT standards.
Somebody parks an SUV there, and somebody's trying to back out of their driveway, they're still blinded.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a big red truck that parks there, so that would probably blind them.
All right, so if everybody feels the same way, so I'll tell the DOT not to allow parking on the street, and we still want no parking signs that whole width of the road all the way down to the gas station. Is that the feeling of the board?
On the west side, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right, perfect. I'll let them know. Okay. All right, we'll stop sharing. my
And on
screen.
the other side, no commercial parking.
Right, no commercial.
The only thing, if I could add on the other side of the street, you were talking about the cutout that's kind of off the road. That's private property. I don't know that we can enforce anything there.
Where are you talking about, Eric?
Across from Rolando, where he parks his flatbed quite frequently.
Hold on. Let me share my screen again. That way everybody can see this. Hold on a second.
Private property, and that's going to be a problem for enforcement. So,
That's the Wig property,
Yes.
yeah, I think, yeah,
where the stones are?
yeah.
We enforce the we enforce the parking on the right of way. I don't think he can get onto that property enough to be off off the state right of way.
Can't get on? Okay.
Because the state right of way's got to be about 25 feet from the center line.
Marcus, while the state is still there, could you please ask them where the WIC property is, how far the state property goes in?
Yes.
Because they have all the, they have all that information.
So, Eric, what area are you talking about further down the road?
Yeah, see up where that flatbed is parked?
Yes, right there on your left.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah,
Road, I don't know that we can enforce that.
yeah. Go pull up a little more, Marcus.
Yeah. We just have to see where the...
Yeah. See that
the-
Mercedes was sitting there for about 2 months.
Oh,
Okay, now the road right of way does not end at that line. Where the property line starts exactly, is another story. But I don't think that there'd be enough room for parking off of the state right of way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah.
I'll check with the DOT on that.
I mean, if they could put rocks there like they did ahead of
Over
it.
here. Somebody put rocks over here.
And then somebody moves them.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's rocks behind that flatbed, but they're in further.
Yeah, some rocks here. Okay. I'll find out with DOT about that.
All right.
I
But
think-
Eric's
I thought-
right, if it's private property, we're not going to be able to enforce it.
Right, but you can enforce it up to the state right of way.
Correct. Yeah.
So we'll figure that out.
Fine. All
All
right.
right, so I'll get back to the DOT on that. And on the additional parking on Blakely Avenue, do you want George and the chief maybe to take a look at some areas that we could add parking on Blakely?
Yeah, if you could, but then we have to make the decision, do we want to do permit parking at that point? So that's like a whole nother discussion.
Okay.
But before we get away from this whole thing, so from Blakely to Tate Avenue, there's going to be no parking. This is Teresa. So I think I think now is a good time to start enforcing that and getting that settled, because eventually we're going to have a sidewalk from Rolindo's property down to the deli. So there's going to be no parking at some point anyhow there once the sidewalk goes in, because the sidewalk will not be a dropped curb sidewalk. It'll be elevated like a regular
Right.
sidewalk.
And when you say to the deli, you mean the gas station?
The gas station, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, which will make it continue to the village circle and everything.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, great.
You need to have an ordinance to enforce it.
Okay.
That's going to have to be passed.
And we need to get do the formal application to the state to take over the enforcement of the parking on that stretch.
Yeah, I'll talk to the DOT first thing tomorrow morning and start confirming all that. That's fine.
Good.
All right, good. So that takes care of the parking situation. The next item on the agenda is Lentz Cove. One of the first items I want to talk about, I have the chief and Bob. Bob is on the line too to talk about refuse collection and stuff. Bob, how you doing? So the first thing is, before we get into enforcement and cleanup, there was a proposal of removing the backstop, and I gave the village board no ideas why we want to remove that. So Bob, why don't you talk about that a little bit of what the benefits are by removing that backstop?
Well, I think if we get rid of the backstop with no intention of using the ball field anymore, number one, it'll look cleaner. We can get some grass growing there and have that be a nice open green grass field to be used for anything in the future that the board may wish.
And Bob, you were saying you were would be able to do that in-house?
Yes.
And we might be able to get some scrap, or hopefully no cost to get rid of the material. Is that correct?
Yeah, we never pay to get rid of any of the metal that we collect. Depending on the market price, we will get some money for that.
So if the board is okay with that, Bob, it'll be no cost to the village to remove the backstop or clean it up, and also eliminate the possibility of people just showing up and playing there, and take away an attractive nuisance at the same time, and clean that up and make it safer for everybody anyway. So it's just a discussion issue, see if there's any concerns for the board to do that. If not, Bob can put out his schedule.
I'm all for it.
I think it's in bad shape too, right, Bob?
Yes.
It needs to come down.
All right, we're still
I'm
leaving
good with
the
that.
fence up around. We're still leaving the fence around the ball field.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, because eventually we might have other things. But what I'd also like to see, I'm kind of noticing, I don't think, honestly, that should become a dog park. And I'm seeing a lot of people walking dogs, and there's, what happens when that happens. There's going to be a lot of stuff around. So then people aren't going to be able to play there if they want to play. So I guess we're going to need some no dog signs around by the fence there, no dogs.
Yeah, ready. No dogs allowed.
Yeah,
There's no dogs allowed
I
signs
think
already.
we need some on the fence by the field, because I'm seeing a lot of people not seeing that. And Bob, another thing, what I'm seeing going into Tropiano Trail, that bar that blocks that roadway, people are actually on the weekend parking in front of that. So, God forbid we have to get in there in an emergency into those woods. I think we need to put a no parking sign there too, because they park right in front of the bar, the access.
Eric, do you have any issue with do we have a fine schedule for not walking your dog in that park?
Yeah, again, any sign that's going to prohibit something, I just ask that an ordinance be passed to back that up so that we can enforce it. The worst thing to be able to do is tell someone you can't do this, and then they say, well, why not? And you have to have something in order to write a ticket for. I mean, you just can't tell somebody they can't do it. There has to be an enforceable ordinance in effect in order for the police to enforce it.
Yep, we'll do that.
All right, so Bob, why don't you update the village board of the work that's been taking place? I know you're almost finished with the concrete work. Update if you got what proposals you got for the steps, and then the garbage containers, and then Eric can talk about the enforcement of closing up the gate and closing the park at dusk.
Okay, so far what we've done was we've repaired the concrete work at the end of the trail, the blacktop trail going out to the point there, and we're just getting ready to lay some stone dust down and replace those stone that were washed out over the past few years by some serious storms. We've been doing a lot of cleanup there and putting wood chips along all our trails. Nick and I took a walk down there. I showed him what we were doing. We cleared out another area behind the left field fence going towards the river, where we've made that nice and open. We opened up the trail a little bit more, so it's easier to get onto the start of the Tropiano Trail. And Nick did point out a couple other trees that we do need to get to cut to open the trail up a little bit, so you wouldn't have to climb over the trees to get there. And we installed numerous signs as far as, the park's closing at dusk, at the request of the board. So we're moving along pretty good down there. We got it shaping up pretty good.
Do you get a second proposal for the steps yet, or are you going to need some proposal for the steps?
I talked to both vendors today, and they're still working on the numbers. We actually have 4 stairs there, sets of stairs that are all in need of repair. One is the one when you first come in on the right-hand side. That's really bad, which we just had that taped off. There's another one at the end of a shorter trail we had. There's only 3 steps that's just shot. Nick and I talked about that becoming maybe one of the ones we fix first, depending what the rest of the board wants us to do, obviously.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting on those proposals. They have some good ideas. They want to make it look like it's part of the park, not just some commercial or residential staircase. So we've had some good ideas with fieldstone, not using wood. I was asked to get prices for stone, not wood.
Yeah. Bob, I had mentioned I could call another mason and put him in touch with you. I'm sorry I did not do that, but I can call him tomorrow.
Okay.
We need to get third price for bids, and we need 3 bids.
I believe
if possible.
I believe with the project that we're asking for, with the numbers we're probably going to be seeing being stonework, I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to make a note for myself, and I'll call this mason just to get another price and ideas. I want to say that the park looks so much better. Bob's done some amazing stuff down there, and it's like a breath of fresh air down there right now. If anybody goes down there, what you're going to see is a steady flow of people as a result of that Peekskill. I mean, once the fishing season is over, it's a steady flow coming off the Peekskill Riverwalk. They come right up to the edge of the park. A lot of people come down from Peekskill and walk out to the point and then go back to Peekskill. And a lot of people also park there and start there. I've seen both. The park is seeing traffic like I haven't seen in my 29 years here in the village. And it's looking great. And Bob cleared a lot of overgrown invasive stuff that opened up the view. I don't know if you guys saw, I sent a couple of photos yesterday or today, I forget. If you guys saw those photos, there's some big open views now. That's really the highlight of the park. When you're standing on that grassy area past the ball field, you're looking out at a view across the river, and you don't see any of that Fleischmann's factory stuff. It's probably the nicest view in the park. And as we go ahead planning what we're going to do there, be it a gazebo, be it a picnic area, be it a wildflower garden, whatever the hell it is, we want to take advantage of that view. I'm going to try to meet there with the people that are on the WRP, Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan. I'm going to meet there with that group to get their input, and we'll continue discussing it. I had a couple other things. Bob, did you want to add anything else before? Because I just wanted to add 1 or 2 things.
I have a couple of things. Marcus asked me to get some prices for garbage cans down there, which we've had some issues with garbage. We have a problem every year when we have the striped bass running up north. We have people going out there, and they are just, out there fishing and having a good time, but they're bringing a lot of garbage with themselves. So we end up having another problem where someone we found was illegally dumping stuff there. They were doing it actually in between us doing our job there, and the first day we just picked it up. The second day I saw it again. We opened up a bag. We found the name. I handed it over to Sergeant Farrell, who took care of the situation. He found the culprit and did what he needed to do to have that person stop that. So with that being said, I think we're going to need some more garbage cans down there. So I got some prices of some cans. Right now we have 4. The price I've got for the cans for getting 6, I got 3 prices, and the best price I got for that is $3,021. That's for the anchor and the lid and everything that is needed and required to try to keep the animals out.
That's 6 units, Bob? That's 6 units?
That would be 6, yes. Obviously, we've been picking up garbage there every morning. We go down there, and since the baths have stopped running right now, the garbage has been a much better situation. It hasn't been that bad at all, except on the long weekend we just had here, there was quite a bit again. People are bringing it out from their fishing points, I believe, but the cans are just full, and they have nowhere to put them, so they're putting them next to it. And then the birds are getting to that.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Bob, this is Teresa, are those the same size garbage cans that we have there now?
The cans we have there now are actually concrete cans that were given to us by the railroad many, many years ago, and they have 32-gallon garbage cans in them, excuse me.
Okay.
The new ones, I believe, are the same size. They're very similar to the ones that we have at the playground down on Westchester Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And they have a lid on it there's a couple different types of lids. The round one with the hole in it seems to be a problem down the park because they just keep getting blown off. They put straps, the straps keep breaking. They have another one that kind of looks like a chimney cap, so to speak. They call it a bonnet.
Looks like a what?
It kind of looks like a chimney cap on a chimney. Oh. And you can have access to the can from all sides. So I thought that would be the best because that seems to be holding up more from talking to other people that do this from other departments.
And you said, when we spoke, you said you didn't think like raccoons and animals were a problem, really.
The only real issue we have are probably birds. Today I did see
the crows and seagulls and stuff, yeah.
And they're, it's not that big a deal. I think we just need to have some more cans there to allow people to do that. We have a lot more foot traffic down there. With the people coming down that way, we're having a lot of people down the cove. Parking lot has numbers of cars in it, many more than it's ever had since I've been. Outside of softball games, I've never seen it this busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Bob, this is Teresa again. I want to ask you one other question. So the field where we were able to get that clean fill that goes out to the water, that's all been cut down and cleaned up?
Well, the area that we put grass on actually grew in very nice. We've been cutting that for the last couple of years. The portion that's going more towards the water, we actually went in there with our sickle machine and we cut it all down. It would be great to put some topsoil, then continue that plan down that way because it's a nice area there.
It's beautiful. The view from there is beautiful.
Yeah,
the only problem is, since it's so close to the water, we have to have special. Remember when we put this, we had gotten it from Spectra. They were very kind to give us some clean. It's like a certain clean fill, and it has to be all DEC approved and all that stuff because it's so close to the water. So I don't think we need that much more to finish that off. But we'll see if we're. I have a request in for some money from that fund. So let's see if we can get some money that way.
We have to look at it because drop-off spots, and we need to figure out if we need to put like a rock barrier or possibly a heavy fence, like a 6x. But I don't know if we want people going right up to the rocks at the edge of the water. There's the sewer output there and stuff. So we need to look at that, the whole picture
there. That's a project for down the road when we get some money.
Yeah, well, right. But we need, if we have a plan, we should have take a look at it and kind of plan it out. But anyway, it does look a whole lot better.
Nick, excuse me 1 second. We probably do need about the same amount of topsoil that we had last time, Teresa.
Oh, okay.
Finish that up. Just to give you an idea of how much we need.
Okay. All right. That's good.
I had mentioned, this is Nick again. I mentioned that I would look into the kayak docking thing, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the kayak dock that they have up at Ansville. It's they're rubber sections that fit together like Legos with attachment corners, and you can go small, you can go big. And I priced what it would cost to put it's a floating dock made up of modular pieces. They have they have a special thing for getting in and out of a kayak. I priced a unit for 2 kayaks, and it would be about $6,000, which we talked about something that could come out of the recreation fund. And I'm still in discussion with them as to how the best way to connect it there would be, and what so I'm still looking into that. But we're looking at about $6,000 to do if we wanted to do a paddle sport launch there. I think these days would be a nice addition. We don't use the boat launch anymore. And another
Nick,
thought
how much is going to get used? If there's already a paddle, kayaks up in Peekskill at Ansville Circle, isn't this kind of redundant?
well, people go kayaking in Croton. It's a very popular sport these days. I don't know that I could give you an exact answer, but I'm sure it would get used. We have the rec fund.
Would it be used by the residents or by non-residents?
Yes.
That's my concern, is that Lentz Cove right now, basically, I think gets more used by non-residents.
Possibly. Probably does.
I don't, I'd like to try to find out what the demand within Buchanan is for kayak here.
Well, that what makes Buchanan special is its proximity to the whole Hudson Valley, and we're part of that. I don't think that we should try to be isolationists with our park. People in Buchanan use Croton parks and town parks and county parks. Sort of a free interchange along the Hudson all around, and I think if the park had improvements and things that would draw people, you'd have some Buchanan residents, and you'd certainly have a fair number of people from nearby areas. But to me, it's one big community, and to try to weigh Buchanan residents versus Croton residents versus Town of Cortland residents, I don't know. I can't get into that frame of thinking. Buchanan ain't much without its surrounding area. It's a nice street to live on that's quiet and safe. But if you go back to that survey we did a few years ago, what's your favorite things about the village? One of the most common answers was location. And people talked about access to hiking, access to the river, access to the city. So what we are is a little spot with access to every. I don't think we should be isolationists with our park. And since we have the rec fund money, it's not a high maintenance dock. It's black. It's their heavy duty rubber floating docks. Have you ever seen the one at Ansville Circle?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
No.
Go check it out. It's fairly simple system, but it makes it very easy to get in and out of the water.
Nick, let me just ask one question on this to George. George, anything on the water, I just want to make sure, are there any DOC, Department of State regulations, or if Nick found a price that the board was agreeable to, is that something we can do, or do we need any permits or anything from the state government or the federal government that's on the Hudson River?
We'd have to look into that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. They go by how in depth you are, how far you go into the water, what's the activity. So we'd have to do some research on that.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, I'll get a little more information on it.
All right. Yeah. No, thank you for getting the price, Nick. And we have a lot on our agenda, but we have to kind of move along. I see David is on the line too.
Good evening. So, hey David. So we'll get to you in a couple minutes. Just want to make sure, is the board okay to move forward with the new garbage cans out of the rec fund, so we can get that out of the way? Just wondering, that's something the board is okay to go, or stay with the same garbage cans we have?
All right. So they're $500 a piece. So the board needs to make a decision on that.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. This is Nick.
Anybody else's opinion?
How many cans are you putting in there?
Bob, 6. Bob is still on. It'll still be 6. Yes.
It'll be six cans. So we're looking at what, $3,000?
Yes.
Out of the rec fund money. It's dedicated recreation money.
I'm okay with that.
It's not coming out of any other budget item.
I'm okay with the garbage cans.
Yeah, I'm okay. Wait.
Okay, so
Okay, good.
Okay. So we have 6 new garbage cans.
All right, perfect. Okay, good. Now, the chief is on the line too. Chief, want to give a quick update on the closing of the gate? Any issues? How is that going?
Well, we started by putting warnings out for the first couple of days, about 5 or 6 days. Then we've begun closing the gate every night. So far, to my knowledge, only one vehicle has been closed in overnight. That vehicle was issued a summons. There was no issue. Presumably, it was retrieved once the gate was open the following morning. But other than that, it's gone very well. And I also got an update on the park and its usage. Officers are reporting normal park activities, a lot of walking, no organized sports activities. It's all seems to be people just enjoying the park with families and friends and social distancing in mind.
All right, good. That's important.
Great.
Okay, next. Thanks, Chief. The next item of the agenda is the discussion about having parking on one side of the street on Tate Avenue. I know that's something Nick wanted to bring up and see if the board is in agreement to research that possibility. So that's up to the board's discussion at this point.
Well, I've been bringing that up for years. I've always thought that it was not necessary to have parking on both sides of Tate, so it would be more pedestrian friendly. And right now, as you're all aware, there's more people getting out than ever before. I see groups of kids biking and cars parked on both sides, and kids going around the cars. I just think it would be a positive thing. And the board generally has not agreed with me on that, but I think that now more than ever it would be a good thing to do. So the rest of you can weigh in.
I just think the same as I thought before. The Tate has some heavy traffic, and the roadway isn't wide enough to accommodate that. And in addition to that, we've had no problems with people walking or cycling on Tate. There's been no accidents as far as I know since I've been up here, and maybe some drunk drivers who were in their own cars at night. But as far as people walking on the road and cycling on the road, there's been no problems. And then you'd have the situation, which side of the street. So I know from down around my end of Tate Avenue that you have a situation when there is a wake across the street from my house, and if somebody that everybody knows, you get anywhere from 20 to 50 cars sometimes, and people park all along Tate on both sides of the street because there's not enough room in the parking lot. And you can't really park it, although some people do, when it's a lot of people at a wake. They do still park in Kingsbury, but they're really taking their life in their hands with that one. So I'm totally against it.
Any other board members?
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I speak now?
Your turn.
Oh, okay. Hi, this is Cheech. Yeah, my only problem with that is this is a heavy road for traffic with big trucks that come down, and to eliminate one side of the parking, and Nick gets talking about putting like bicycle lanes and things like that on one side. Nick?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, because
Whether it's just signs that say clear of the road, I don't know.
You're gonna wind up losing one side of one part of the road. Now, people that want to come down here, they're going to park on one side. They're going to start making turns in people's driveways and backing out to go get into that parking space. So I don't think I really don't see anything beneficial with doing that on Tate Avenue.
Let me just chime in. Especially during the summertime and spring, there are people who have parties and they don't have enough parking in their driveways and that type of thing, and they use Tate Avenue. So I think, leaving well enough alone is where I stand on it.
Mm-hmm. And this is, I just think the road is too narrow. I see already, it's not a wide road. I see people parked on the side, and then other people coming by have to go over the double yellow line. I just don't think it would be a safe situation, in my opinion.
Okay. All right.
So you think it would be more dangerous if there was parking on one side? Is that what you're saying?
We might have to move the line. I don't know, but I just think the road is just not wide enough to do.
That's
like
exactly why that parking on one side only, because it's not wide.
But then what's happening too? Then you're giving people a comfort level of saying, okay, it's safe to walk here on this side, and not necessarily. It's a heavily traveled road. I just don't think the road is wide enough. Maybe if it was a wider road and we had a good shoulder to it, that might be a possibility. But it's I don't know exactly what the width of the road is. George might know. George Palmer, our engineer, might know. But it's just, I think, too narrow.
Okay. So it's unanimous. We're going to go parking on one side?
Sneaky.
Okay, so I think that we got the answer for that one. Then
okay. So then I think at least what we should look at is coming in off of Kings Ferry. There should be a sign. Nope. I don't. Right now people are parking fairly close to Kings Ferry sometimes. I think there should be no parking for at least a certain distance, probably up to Rich's driveway. Actually, between Rich's driveway and the corner, I don't think there should be parking there. I don't think there should be parking for whatever that number of feet is, 30 feet from the corner. Likewise, when you come around the circle onto Tate, there's a no parking zone, and there's the person that has that fitness studio always parks there. But I think when at the beginning of the road, when you're coming onto the street, there should be, just for that turning safety, there should be no parking 30 feet to corner, a sign or something. And I also question in the curve, because when there's a lot of cars parked in the curve on Tate, I find the road gets pinched pretty bad right in that spot, more than anywhere else on the road. So maybe we could look at just a little bit more restrictive parking in the turning spots.
Mm-hmm. Eric, what do you think?
No, I think those are good points. Traditionally, you don't allow parking here to corner. It's usually about 25 feet. And it's been my experience. I agree, Nick. In curves, that's always dangerous as well. So that would be prudent to do something like that, I think.
So Chief, can you just look at those areas and maybe send me a quick email, and then I talk to Stephanie to create we got to create an ordinance for that as well and get that on the books.
Maybe just on one side in the curve, because I've seen cars parked on both sides, and then it gets pretty pinched. Plus, you've got the street that comes into Tate there, Lake Drive.
Okay.
No problem. I'll take care of it.
All right. Perfect. Obviously, the next item.
I won't bring that up again then. Unless people come to me.
The next item on the agenda, it's on the June 2nd meeting, is if you want to continue the discussion on the potential dumpster fees. I got updated numbers which I sent to the board regarding, Bob was able to give me new locations and numbers. I can put it on the screen as well if you wish to see it, but I know I emailed that to the board. So this is any update on discussion, because we do have a public hearing scheduled for June 2nd. So it's just an opportunity for the board to discuss, ask any questions, or just have a further discussion.
Are we excuse me, Nick again, are we looking at a resolution for the dumpster fees on the 2nd?
That's up to it's the first public hearing on the dumpster fees, so the board can adjourn it to another meeting or vote on it.
Sorry, it's Stephanie. It's a local law amending your code to allow for dumpster fees.
Mm-hmm. Right, I know. I thought we were going to do that, but we just decided to put it off a month or so ago. So, yeah.
So I emailed the board the updated figure, so if you want to discuss it tonight, or we can move on, and it's a hold the public hearing at the next meeting.
I say hold the public hearing. Move on.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, the next is discussion of this. Yes, Steph.
Sorry, were you discussing summer camp in the pool, or is that off the agenda?
That's the next item. The next item discussing the summer camp in the pool. So the discussion is that some camps have already closed, the pools are closed. So the discussion is, and I know Nancy is watching the meeting as well. We want to get direction from the board if they want to make a decision about closing the camp from the pool or delaying the decision all I know is like Yorktown has canceled, the town of Cortland is canceled, Somers is canceled, Pleasantville is canceled. So the discussion is Greenberg is canceled. Greenberg. So the thing is now, do you want to cancel so that way Nancy can we can start processing refunds to people and telling the summer camp counselors that, you know, we won't have position for them this year. So we're trying to just get some direction so we can tell the parents and the workers and Nancy what we should do next.
Well, Dwayne, I think certainly with the governor's comment the other day about he wouldn't send his kids to the pool, and there's so many unknown variables out there in terms of how you try and construct this in such a small area, I would be in favor of canceling the summer camp this year.
Yeah, I agree with Dwayne. This is Rich Function. I don't think we have much of a choice when you list all of those other camps that have closed and pools that have closed. It's the same argument about they had down the beaches with Nassau County and New York City. You're going to have an overflow from other people. And I know I would love to have the pool open, but I know that it's a money drain without the camp. So I don't think you can do either one. And it's better to be safe than sorry. That's what I feel. So
I just want to add for the discussion. I'm getting messages from Nancy too. I want to make sure I express what she's saying. She said, "Can the pool stay open for a small camp, for a small group?" So she just bringing that up for discussion as well. Or do you want to close the pool totally?
You know what? Let's tell this as it is. The pool, when the pool opens, there's a $50,000 loss for 2 months. We lose $50,000. So to open the pool, that's one, financial. I'd love to have it open. It's a beautiful pool. It's not really used as much as it should be. That's number one. Number two, it's if you look at the CDC guidelines, there's challenges. People, you still have to wear a mask. Will it be all summer? We don't know yet. Will it be July and August? We don't know. But people will have to wear a mask. People still have to have social distancing 6 feet apart. I just don't know how that can be achieved. And I don't mean to be a party pooper at all. I wish we could open the camp. I have concerns about this disease that's out there that's affecting the children now, the Kawasaki disease. That scares me. Can we achieve the social distancing? Can we achieve the cleaning of the park, the areas, all the touchable spaces, the bathrooms? Can we do social distancing with little kids? I don't know if that can be achieved. I understand the state is going to come out with some guidelines, I think this week. But with the CDC, if you look at their guidelines, it's very difficult to achieve these things. There's still a lot of things about the virus that's not known. I'm concerned, and that's really our job, is the safety, health, and welfare of the residents. And remember also, in this village, we have had a very, very, very low virus count. I'm just not looking for any trouble, suddenly it spikes. We don't know where we are with this virus yet. It's just unfortunate. It concerns me. I'm just uncomfortable doing it. And then let's also look at the other side of this, the liability of it. God forbid one of the kids, somebody gets sick, and it could be traced back, the spikes could be traced back to the Village of Buchanan pool, the Village of Buchanan camp. I don't know. We're a small little community. You see these other big communities felt that it was necessary to shut down their programs too. So I don't know. I'm just very concerned about opening anything up right now. I wish things were different, but I have my concerns with that.
Hi, this is Cheech. I would have been a little more open to listening to discussions about what direction we're going to go with, maybe delaying it or closing it completely. But now with this disease that's going around with these children, with this Kawasaki, I mean, that scares me. And, if something happened to one of the kids and it got traced back to, because we opened up the pool or the camp, I couldn't live with that. So I want to err on the side of caution, and I'd say let's just close them.
Any other board members?
Don't think we have a choice. Much as we all like to see it open, I just don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, this is Teresa. I know people are going to be disappointed. We're not doing this for any other reason than the safety and the health and welfare of the children at the camp, the children who work there, our employees. It's a tough decision. It's a tough decision, but I think we all understand what the problem is here and how it's an issue. It's not settled yet. So, but I'm sorry. I apologize to everyone, but I just don't think it's safe to open up the camp or the pool this year.
Hi, this is Nick. I have a question for Bob.
Yes.
Bob, if the pool does not open, obviously you got to do something there. What would you have to do to get through the summer? Would you just drain it? Would you have to just run it with minimal chlorine? I mean, what would you do for maintenance?
The pool is drained now. We haven't done much.
So you just don't fill it? Oh, okay. So you just don't fill it.
It could be a good opportunity to go up there and address some issues that really gives us more time to work on them too.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so...
Do you have any comments? Being our attorney, are there any comments you would like to share over this?
I think you're all right on the mark. I think it would be foolish to open up a camp and a pool at this point in the game. And I know you can't wait. You can't make the decision in June or early July if things got better. And like you've all said, it's especially true with the children. I mean, before it was thought, the kids aren't getting, COVID.
Yeah.
Well, that isn't true, and we don't even know where that's going. I mean, look how long it took for, this to climb the mountain with adults. So we've just begun, and I think it would be foolish, and I don't even think you have a choice. I think you need to shut it.
Okay. All right, Nancy's watching the meeting, so we'll prepare tomorrow to start notifying her about the refunds. And the only thing I think she wants to say, if something changes in the future and there's an opportunity for the pool to open, if the village board would just consider that possibility in the future.
I think, this is Teresa, I think that would be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The pool would have to be filled. And it's going to be a time factor. So what if we get the approvals in June sometime? Say we get the approval the end of June. It's not going to be ready, the next day. It's not going to be ready July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just don't see it happening until we get the all clear sign, because we're only in, phase 1 at this point in Westchester.
Yep.
And we just went into phase 1 today. So phase 2, I don't know. And, after this weekend with people being out, are you going to see a spike? There's too many unknowns. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yep. All right. We got the consensus. That's fine. That's fine. The next item on the agenda is just to talk about the June 2nd meeting so far. Just to let everybody know, we have a couple of minutes that have to be approved. We are going to have the public hearing on the dumpster fee, and also going to approve the appointment of some seasonal help with DPW. So yeah, that's on the agenda. And then Mayor and the board members, if you have anything else you want to bring up, that's fine. The next item will be executive session. When you're ready, we can adjourn to executive session, discuss litigation and also contract negotiations whenever the board is ready.
Well, David is here for a certain discussion.
That will be in the executive.
That's an executive? Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Mayor, board members, any other comments or anything else you want to discuss in public session?
Mm-hmm.
I have one thing. Oh, sorry, Dwayne, go ahead.
No,
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you first. I didn't hear you.
No,
right away.
Go ahead. I was just going to say motion to go into executive session, but go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to make a suggestion for the village hall. We don't know when that's going to open, but if we can look into changing in the bathrooms, get rid of the soap dispensers and get those no-touch soap dispensers.
Yes. Okay.
Some of the jobs I work, they have them. You just put your hand underneath and it squirts the soap out. And also to get the hand blow dryers instead of paper towel. to minimize touching and contact, I thought that we might look into a couple of those, small changes to the bathrooms at the village hall.
Yeah, the hand dispenser wouldn't be a problem, but that's battery operated. The hand blower is electrical work, so I'll work with Cindy and take
It's
a
also
look
good.
at them.
We go paper free. It's also good. And I know for the downstairs bathroom, there is an outlet, and it might be a possible to
Run into there.
It's not like you have to snake a wire from the basement or something. I think
Right.
there's power available in the bathrooms.
Right. Okay. Oh, I got one more item, Mayor, if you don't mind. I would want to just remember, as the board know, we actually changed insurance brokers just recently. We actually saved almost $28,000 in insurance premium, and also we got a lot more services for risk management and training. That, as everybody know, we had issues with PESH. And this insurance broker has a lot more experience with risk management and training in the house that comes as part of the fee. Also, I negotiated a fee that we pay them versus them getting paid by a commission. So therefore, there's no conflict that the higher the premium it gets, the more money they get. We're paying them a fee, a flat dollar fee that we pay, and actually that's cheaper than the commission that we're making before. So overall, we saved about $28,000 in insurance, and actually got better coverage and better coverage and better services. Just to let you guys know.
That's good news. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you for all your work with that.
Okay, so that's all I have. So anybody else?
What's the thing with the ice cream truck? When are we talking about that?
Oh, that's a good point. That's true. That's something came up yesterday. There were some emails going around regarding the ice cream truck. There's one proposal. I don't know if it's the same one that's driving around already, but if the village board wants to put some regulations, we could. I checked with the Department of Health. They should have a permit from the county to operate within the county, and then each municipality can create their own regulations if we see fit in regard to hours of operation, if the noise is too much, what days they can operate. So we can create any regulations we wish. And then it'll have to be the police department will have to enforce that and check their permits and probably issue a ticket. The Department of Health does not check motor vehicle insurance, so we can request a copy of that as well. So I know there was some questions going back and forth. There's a good opportunity to discuss it, and since we have the police chief here too, we could discuss what regulation we would like to have, and then we have to find out if that can be done by resolution or would that have to be by local law as well.
I just want to make a comment. I mean, I've seen it around here on Kings Ferry Road and everything. It's very noisy, and it would drive you crazy playing the same jingle over and over, and very loud, very, very loud. And they keep the truck running the whole time. I don't know whether that has to be done for their refrigeration. But,
that's done so they can have the kids running out to the truck.
That's right. That's right.
And therein raises the question also, obviously, of social distancing and handling food and little kids.
Well, I was going to mention, Stephanie. It's Dwayne. Yeah. I would want to just put a freeze on any peddler applications until we get out of the situation we're in, to just not grant any permits whatsoever for food being served on the streets of Buchanan.
Hey, Dwayne? Dwayne?
Yeah.
Oh, so you want to put a freeze on an ice cream truck? I love it.
I knew somebody was going to go there.
This is Teresa. Yeah, after a while, Mary had a little lamb. The 100th time gets a little stale. But yes, I think right now, our permit fees, Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, is $125 for a year.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
So definitely, I agree with Dwayne. Maybe, that needs to go on a hold until we get through what we're going through with this virus. And, because you know how kids are. They're all excited. They're not going to stand 6 feet apart. And we don't want to see anyone get sick or get the virus. So, unfortunately, it's a summertime thing, but times are a little different right now.
Hey,
Okay.
Teresa, you talk about kids excited seeing an ice cream truck. You've never seen me.
Oh, the big kids.
So I know Cindy's online, so Cindy, maybe you can notify the one who sent the application that we're not going to entertain that. And then Chief, I don't know if Eric is still on. Eric, if you just tell the cops if it's a different company driving around that they should not be operating within the village.
I don't know if Eric is still on, because he said we were going to exec session.
Yeah.
So.
I'll let him. I'll give him a call
Okay.
tomorrow and let him know.
All right. So are we ready to go into exec session? Yes. I'd like to make a motion to go into exec session to discuss potential litigation and contract negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're in
Okay,
exec session.
give me